Welcome back to another video. Today I am going to share with you something that I learned and I realized about a certain passage from the Bible when I was in church. I think so the last two Sunday from the last two Sundays. So, without further ado, let's begin with today's video. And before we begin with today's video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to turn on your post notifications so that you won't miss a video when I post it. So, the passage in question is from Acts chapter 20, verses from 7 to 10 in particular, which reads, On the first day of the week, when we were gathered together to break bread, Paul talked with them, intending to depart on the next day, and he prolonged his speech until midnight, from the morning till midnight. There were many lamps in the upper room where we were gathered, of course, because it was already dark, so we needed lamps. And a young man named Eutychus, sitting at the window, sank into a deep sleep as Paul talked still longer. And being overcome by sleep, he fell down from the third story and was taken up dead. So here, the main point in focus out here right now is this particular uh, verse 9, where it reads that the young man fell asleep because, of course, it was getting late at night and we sleep at night. So, of course, this young man also he fell asleep during to exhaustion of being there the whole night and falling asleep. But the other way you can view it is, how many times can you say that you were out for a whole long day, and and then even through the night also you were still out and you fell asleep while being out having fun? How many times can we say that? Because oftentimes when we are out having fun, it doesn't matter the time of the day, we never fall asleep. Rarely we ever do. It is only when we're heading back home, we're sitting in the car fully relaxed, that we will fall asleep. And that's the only time, but not during activities or when we are still having fun going out and about, that we will fall asleep even though we had a long day full of work. That's one thing to remember. But how many times do we fall asleep in church, even though we just came from home and we directly went to church? We sat there, and just as the preacher started preaching, we fell asleep. How many times can we say that we have done that? I think it'll be many more times than we can say that we fell asleep while doing an outing. That's one thing to remember. And the verse 10 it says, But Paul went down and bent over him, and taking him in his arms said, Do not be alarmed, for his life is in him. So Paul says here, do not be alarmed, for his life is in him. And when you go further down in the verse 12, it says, And they took the youth away alive, and were not a little comforted. So in here we can see that Paul came down, he checked on him, and he said that he was alive. So what the preacher on that Sunday said about this particular verse is that Paul coming down and checking if he was alive, checking and saying that he was alive, signifies how Jesus came down to earth and how he saved us. That is why we are able to live right now. That is why we are able to be reconciled with God, because Jesus was the bridge. Oftentimes we will see, it's not often, I mean like all the time only, we will see that Jesus, he was crucified, his arms were open wide. And I forgot where, but I think so in one of the sermons, I forgot when was this, but in one of the sermons, I was taught that the way that Jesus was crucified and how his arms were stretched wide, it was like he was bridging the gap between mankind and God. On one end was mankind, and on the other end was God. And Jesus was in the middle, being the bridge for us so that we can walk from there accept Christ, and reach God. That is why they say that when you don't accept Jesus, you cannot reach God, because Jesus was literally the bridge. Jesus is literally the bridge. So the point of this video, one of the main points of this video is that what I learned from that day was that, are we being lukewarm? Are we lying to ourselves and saying that I am all in with God, when we still fall asleep in church, while going to church, while listening to sermons, while we can stay up the whole night and have fun with our friends, but as soon as we step in the church, we fall asleep as soon as we sit down? Is that what we were taught? Is that not being lukewarm? That we can spend the whole time having fun without falling asleep, but then as soon as we step into the house of God, we fall asleep. And that made me think, because I am not exempt from the fact that I sometimes feel sleepy also at church. I'm not exempt from that. And one thing that I learned to prevent myself from falling asleep is that I carry a notebook or my pack of sticky notes, and then I just write down whatever the preacher is saying, because oftentimes it just helps me remember things. Not only remember, but sometimes when I don't understand also, I just reread the things, and then it just computes in my mind, and I'll be like, oh, this is what it means. So there's your solution when you feel sleepy. And this solution was, I actually heard the solution also in church, so I was like, okay, I will try to apply it, because when I go to the afternoon service, mostly I feel very sleepy. I don't know why, but I feel very sleepy in the afternoon service. So that's why I always carry that, and it just helps me. And it's beneficial for us also, because we can actually go through everything that we have heard in the sermon in any day of the week, whenever we feel like we need to remind ourselves of something. So yes. And the person, what I also remember that the preacher was saying was that the person falling asleep signifies how the people around him, none of them, they woke him up, even though he was sitting near a window. Even though he was sitting near a window and he was falling into a deep sleep, none of the people around him woke him up and said that, be careful, you might fall off because you are falling asleep. None of them woke him up to say that, and instead they just all let him be, and eventually he did fall down. And uh, this particular part, it spoke to us in a way that it's asking us, are we reminding the people who have missed church, why have you missed church? Are we caring enough to ask the people that we are close to, when they miss church too many times, why are you missing church? Are we doing that? Are we actually putting in the effort to make sure that our friend or our loved ones get the bread of life for their week? Because we have church, we have the main church service mostly only on Sunday. Yes, there are other prayer groups meeting throughout the week, but the main one which everyone comes to is on Sunday. So are we doing that? Are we asking our friends, why haven't you come to church? Are we asking our loved ones, what is stopping you from coming to church when you can go out and party? The day before it, you can go out and party and stay up the whole night but not come to church. Are we doing that? So yes, are we halfway in and halfway out with God? Are we being lukewarm? Does it mean that we're being lukewarm just because we are not uh, asking our friends, asking our loved ones why they are not coming to church? Maybe we are, because we are supposed to live and follow the footsteps of Christ and carry our cross. And while carrying our cross, we should remind others too to carry theirs, and that Jesus will be there to help them carry it when it gets too heavy. But when we see our loved ones missing out on that because they find the world more pleasurable, do we stop them and say that, wait? And let me just tell you that Jesus still loves you and he's waiting very, very eagerly for you to come back. Are we doing that? I don't think most of us are. And again, I am not exempt from it either, because I would say that I've made similar mistakes also time and time again. So, what I want to say from this video is that maybe we can start being less lukewarm and just go ahead and call a friend or text a friend why they aren't coming to church. Maybe we can just go ahead and do that before the trumpet sounds, because as we can see, we are living in the end times. So before the trumpet sounds, maybe we can say that, why aren't you coming to church? And do you know that Jesus still loves you and he just wants to have a relationship with you? Why is it so easy for us to live with the world, but it's so difficult for us to live for Christ, to live for God? Why? And why do we feel like we can put our one foot with the world and one foot with Christ? One thing that I've learned is that when people put you down for your faith also, remember that you're doing something right. Because if the world rejected a perfect man, that is Jesus Christ, they will reject you for accepting him. And don't ever let them get to you. And remember that when the world rejects you, God is always there with his open arms for you. Even when the world accepts you, he's still waiting for you to accept him, because he just wants a relationship with you. That is all that he wants, and that is all that he longs for, a relationship with us. And one thing that I always hear from this one influencer, he's a Christian influencer, so his name is, I think so, Mike Miguel's or something like that. I'll put up his Instagram somewhere out here. One thing that he always says is that if all you have is God, you have all you need. And I couldn't agree with it more, because during my early time when I started to try to know what God was about, yeah, people's comments, everyone around me, their comments would still get to me. But as I got to know God more and more and more, I realized that the whole world might turn its back against me, which they eventually will do, because like I always say to all of my friends also, that humans will disappoint you in some way or the other. Humans will disappoint you, but God never will disappoint you. Even when you feel like he's disappointing you, he's actually working something good for you. So like I always say, humans will disappoint you, but God never will. And if God is all you have all you need. And I couldn't agree with that more, because I realized that if I am if God made me fearfully and wonderfully, why should I be insecure, and why should I be affected by something that others say, when it's not even the truth about me? And I know it's not the truth about me. It's just that they're projecting their own fears on me. Simple as that. You realize eventually that if God is all you have all you need. It doesn't matter whose approval or disapproval you get. So yes, with that, I would like to end today's video. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And let's stop being lukewarm, all of us, because the time is ticking and the end is very near. We don't know when it is. We just know that it'll come to us like a thief in the night. But we know that it's near because we can see the signs everywhere around us. So God bless you all. Jesus loves you a whole lot. God bless you all. Bye bye.